Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. The sensex and the nifty hit record highs as the Indian stock market bucks the global downtrend. The Nifty Bank also at a new high. Reliance and ICICI Bank lead the charge. In a rare sign of civil unrest, protests erupt across China over stringent COVID restrictions, even as daily infections hit another all-time high. Demonstrators clashed with the police in Shanghai and chant slogans demanding the resignation of President Xi Jinping. Crude oil prices trade near 10-month lows on fears of weak demand from China due to COVID restrictions. Brent crude prices at the lowest level since early January this year. The Kirit Parikh panel on gas pricing is likely to bat for decontrol. Sources say the panel will recommend liberalization of natural gas and allow market forces to determine the price from 2026. That's an exclusive. The Supreme Court slams Union Law Minister Kiren Rijiju for attacking the collegium system of appointing judges, says the government cannot refuse to comply with the law of the land and frustrate the process by sitting on files, warns that the centre is crossing the Rubicon and the court is being soft and patient for now. India's top insurance regulator says the launch of Bima Sugam is a UPI moment for the insurance sector. The IRDA chief Debashish Panda says the one-stop platform for all things insurance will take insurance to every corner of the country and benefit intermediaries. That's an exclusive. M&M is doubling its capacity to make room for electric SUVs, says CEO Anish Shah. Also adds the company would look for an investment partner for the electric vehicle business only after the launch of 5 new electric SUVs. That's another exclusive. Protests over an Adani port project in Kerala turned violent. 3,000 people have been booked for allegedly attacking a police station. Local fishermen have been opposing the project, claiming it can cause sea erosion and hurt their livelihood. Domestic airline Go First says 25 of its aircraft currently grounded due to engine-related issues, leaving only 32 planes in the air. Sources say curtailed operations have impacted the airline's cash flows, leading to salary delays, mostly for senior employees. The airline says it expects deliveries of engines in the next few weeks, which could put some aircraft back in service.
Record smashing day really for the equities markets, and Nifty as well as Sensex have both hit all-time highs.
I think the world and the markets are basically saying that the domestic economy is on a stronger footing than the global situation, and I think that's what's now leading the next wave of the move in the market.
Clearly, domestic, institutional and retail investors have come of age. We are in a position to withstand foreign portfolio investors selling.
It's going to be a standout market for the next several years.
Okay.
Could be 2, 3, 5, 10 years. I mean, I don't think any other market will compare, ticking all the boxes.
10x gains in about 20 to 23 years or so. And we have had a superb wealth creating opportunity.
Yeah.
And going ahead also, I think that it's going to be a fabulous wealth generating machine for the Indian economy, for the Indian public as well.
Well, it's turned out to be another record-breaking day on the Lal Street. The Nifty hitting a record high in intraday trade. The Sensex also touched a new high for the third straight session. And the rally in India is coming at a time when stock markets across the world are subdued. The Nifty Bank Index at a new high, ending above the 43,000 mark for the first time. Heavyweights, Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank leading the charge today. Prashant is standing by to wrap up the market action. What a start, Prashant. Records being broken across the board.
You know, the Nifty was the one which we were waiting for, Shireen, and finally we got that, didn't we? Because, I mean, the Sensex hit a high, the Bank Nifty hit a high, but the Nifty 50, which is the most widely tracked benchmark index now, that had to wait for today to make a high. So we're finally there. It's come, I mean, it's been 1 year in the making. You know, this is basically the journey of the Nifty from the previous high in October of 2021 to today. Let me just quickly tell you, I mean, the highs and the lows. This is October 21 when the market got to 18,604, from where it fell about 11% to about 16,410. That was in December. Then it bounced in January of 22, that is early this year, back to about 18,321, just under the previous high, and then sold off again to 15,671. In April of this year, it came back to 18,114. And then we finally made what basically so far has been the low of the year, 15,183. Those are the June lows, from where, the market bounced in September to 18,091. Then the market fell again. This is the last leg of the fall, which was also, by the way, the smallest, about 7% or so. From 18,100 nearly, the Nifty fell to about 16,747. And now today, we are finally at 18,614, which is basically the high of the day today. So, this high being taken out 1 year and maybe a month more later. But, the fact is that even as the Nifty has made a high, there are 26 stocks which are actually below their respective October 2021 levels, right? So this is quite interesting. I decided to look at the names which have actually done well and which have done poorly, and these are the winners. This is the level of these stocks when the Nifty made a high 1 year ago in October of 21 and where they are now. And look at this, Adani Enterprises, top of the board, from 1570 rallying to 3880 today. ITC, 245 to 340. Mahindra & Mahindra, you had Eicher, you had Coal India, and a bunch of others as well, which have done very, very well. So Sun Pharma is one, ICICI Bank. Banks and financial services have done very well. So Bharti is a case in point, and Bharti from 681, it's moved up to about 838. But the laggards out there as well, right? So Wipro is a case in point. Lots of tech here, of course, from 711 to 404. So it's actually lost wealth even as the market as a whole, as the index has come back up. Divi's Laboratories from 5,200 to 3,370, Tech Mahindra, BPCL, and a bunch of others as well. So this is, the big winners in this 1 year journey and the big losers as well. So if you were in the first set of stocks, you made a lot of money. But if you're in the second set of stocks, you've basically eroded wealth even as the index has come back on. One is absolute performance, and that is what matters, should matter to viewers watching this broadcast. But there is also this relative element, right, which is important to note. Look at the Nifty and what it has done against the rest of the world. In dollar terms, the Nifty is down 2.6%. S&P 500 is down 15.5%, the biggest, the most liquid market. The German index, and of course, there is the Hang Seng, which is down about 26.4% as well. How does this stack in terms of valuations? So I'm going to put out two sets of data. One is India versus peers, emerging market peers, and this is the 100% premium that we are talking about. India, 1 year forward, Bloomberg consensus trades at 22.5 times earnings. The MSCI Emerging Market Index trades at 11.3 times earnings. And this is a word of caution which many investors we speak to regularly raise. And, India against developed markets, large markets, basically, how does that track? We're at 20.67 because the constituents of MSCI India and the Nifty are different. S&P 500 is cheaper at 17.5. Euro Stocks 50, which is made up of the 50 largest stocks in Europe, that's at about 11.7. And of course, the Hang Seng is the cheapest of the lot at about 8.5, given all the troubles that China has been facing. So it's been a stupendous run. In absolute sense, the market has made money. On a relative sense, it's actually been a pretty amazing year. I've not seen, I've been tracking markets a long time. I've not seen, the market doing so well given all the challenges the world has been facing. We've been discussing all of the reasons, the factors, etc. What from here is the question. And I think one should keep an eye on the valuation comparison between India and the rest of the world and emerging market peers as well. Back to you.
Oh, most certainly, we will do that. Prashant, many thanks for taking us through the market action for the day. And speaking of factors that could determine the course of the markets, another reason why the Indian stock markets are bucking the global downtrend could also be because of the fall that we've seen in crude oil prices. The protests in China have sparked concerns over demand at the world's largest oil importer, and this has led to prices softening over the last few days. So if you take a look at where crude is, we're at a 10-month low at this point in time. But here are the big international stories today. In fact, protests against China's zero-COVID policy intensifying when demonstrators taking to the streets for the third straight day. Protesters were seen chanting Xi Jinping step down while police dragged away people from the site. Chinese authorities have been monitoring social media for any news on the protests, with certain search terms being wiped away. China's zero-COVID policy gave the government the authority to place citizens under prolonged lockdowns, even if only a handful of cases were reported. As per the latest data, China reported nearly 40,000 COVID cases for the fourth straight day, setting a new daily record high. CNBC's Yunus Yoon joins us now from Beijing. Yunus, take us through what the situation is like on the ground.
I mean, at this point, we do think that Beijing, as it's already kind of been indicating, is going to stick with this kind of middle road approach and hope that it works. But the big question is whether or not the local people are going to really be okay with it. We really don't know. There's been a lot of negotiation on the ground on a local level, but there's been definitely a lot of anger towards these COVID controls. And I think what's worrisome for a lot of the Beijing leadership is that they could spread. For example, in some places they've been saying they want freedom from the COVID controls, but they also say that they want freedom of expression. They want freedom of the press. Some have even been saying that they want freedom to play video games. I mean, it sounds frivolous, but at the same time, it kind of gives you a sense of how intrusive the government is in people's lives and how frustrated people are becoming. And then the leadership, if they don't kind of keep a lid on that, you know, it's really up to, it's anyone's guess as to, you know, where that actually can lead for them.
Yunus, many thanks. So what does these protests and the COVID restrictions in China mean for the global economy and the stock markets? Some experts that we've been speaking to with their reactions.
We still see the Chinese currency under pressure in the short term. The economic disruption is there. I mean, COVID zero is kind of a headwind for its growth in China. Over time, we think that they will be moving towards reopening. And, you know, in the same way that, you know, China was trading 639, 630 not so long ago, now it's like 720. We could see a reversal if the economy successfully reopens, if they find a way of, you know, balancing their political and social aims and economic aims.
With China, what I would say is that short term, it looks very bad, of course, but medium term, it could be good if they finally let go. And that's something that nobody knows the answer to. But I would say that as opposed to back in April, which was the last COVID surge, when only 100 cities were seeing COVID cases, today it's over 300 cities that are seeing COVID cases. I don't see how they can stop it. So if they come to that same conclusion and they let it go, I think the market would react positively to that.
Well, reactions coming into what's going on in China. A quick check of some of the other headlines that we are tracking this evening. Credit rating agency S&P has cut India's FY23 GDP growth forecast by 30 basis points to 7%. For FY25, the outlook has been cut by 50 basis points to 6%. The ratings agency has projected India's economic growth at 7.3% for the current fiscal. Here's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The Kirit Parikh panel on gas pricing is likely to bat for decontrol. Sources say the panel will recommend liberalization of natural gas and allow market forces to determine the price from 2026. Another exclusive this evening. India's top insurance regulator says the launch of Bima Sugam is a UPI moment for the insurance industry. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18's Yash Jain, IRDA Chief Debashish Panda said the one-stop platform for all things insurance will take insurance to every corner of the country and benefit intermediaries.
We are talking of a financial market infrastructure. And eventually, the way it is being conceived and conceptualized, it will become a systemically important one also, like the UPI. So for the insurance, it is kind of a similar thing that is being contemplated. There is no question of commission. It is a question of that is the overall commission structure what the companies decide. Here it is the ease of buying a policy, ease of servicing a policy, ease of settlement of the policy, ease of reach.
That's the IRDA chief speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18. From one exclusive to another, M&M is doubling its capacity to make room for electric SUVs. That, as per CEO Anish Shah. Speaking with my colleague Parikshit Luthra, Shah also added that the company will look for an investment partner for the electric vehicle business, but only after the launch of 5 new electric SUVs.
British International Investments and Mahindra Group were looking and scouting for additional investors for about 500 million extra for the EV project. Where are those talks?
So we haven't started them at this stage. Our plan is to launch our XUV 400 right now, get further ahead with the 5 new electric SUVs that we're going to launch, and at that point look for an additional investor to come in.
That's M&M's Anish Shah. We will head into a break, but up next, the Supreme Court slams Union Minister Kiran Rijiju for attacking the collegium system of appointing judges. That and more when we return. In other news today, Max Financial Services got a green signal from the insurance regulator, the IRDAI, to acquire the remaining 5.17% stake in Max Life, which is currently held by Mitsui Sumitomo. The transaction is expected to be completed in the next fortnight. The agreement will see the purchase of 9.91 crore shares of Max Life at 85 rupees a share. With this, Max Financial Services stake in Max Life will increase to 87%. Amazon India has closed the shutters on its third business in just a week. This move comes at a time when the company is undertaking cost-cutting measures across the country. The e-commerce giant has now decided to shut down its distribution vertical. The company in a statement said, and I quote, "We've made the decision to discontinue Amazon distribution, our wholesale e-commerce website for small stores in Bangalore, Mysore and Hubli." End of quote. In the aviation space, domestic air passenger traffic crossed the 4 lakh mark for the second consecutive day. The record roughly amounts to 96% of the pre-COVID levels and is the highest level seen since April 2022. Indian Airlines flew over 2,800 flights on Saturday, which is around 88% of the approved schedule. And speaking of flights, domestic airline Go First has been facing customer ire over frequent delays in flight departures and abrupt cancellations. The airline had to issue refunds to around 18,000 passengers in October for delaying its flights for more than 2 hours. CNBC-TV18 learns the airline is operating with a significantly smaller fleet, as over 25 of its aircraft are currently not in use. Madhiya Mujawar joins us now with more. Madhiya, what's happening at Go First?
Go First has been in the spotlight of late. Many passengers have been taking to social media to express their anger over flight delays and sudden cancellations. The cause behind this seems to be a significantly shrunk fleet. CNBC-TV18 learns that a large chunk of the airline's fleet is grounded due to engine-related issues. According to a fleet tracking website, 28 of the 59 Go First aircraft are parked and only 31 planes are operational. But according to the airline's spokesperson, Go First is currently operating 32 aircraft and about 25 to 26 planes are grounded. Go First has also confirmed it is expecting Pratt & Whitney to deliver some engines, which should put most of the grounded planes in air. But there are consequences when nearly half of an airline's fleet is on ground. Sources told us that Go First had to curtail daily operations by up to 40% due to limited aircraft. We also learned from multiple sources that operating lesser flights have impacted the airline's cash flows, leading to delay in salaries, mainly for those in the higher salary bracket. The airline's on-time performance has dropped from the top spot in January to the bottom in October. Its market share has also plunged sharply by nearly 300 basis points in 10 months. The airline, as you mentioned, had to issue refunds to around 18,000 passengers in October for delays beyond 2 hours. A DGC official told CNBC-TV18 the situation at Go First has now improved. The airline too expects things to get better with the arrival of engines and a normalization of fleet in use.
Madhiya, many thanks for joining us. The big national story: the Supreme Court has slammed Union Law Minister Kiran Rijiju for attacking the collegium system of appointing judges. The Apex Court said that the government cannot refuse to comply with the law of the land and frustrate the process by sitting on files. It's warned the centre that it was crossing the Rubicon and that the court was in fact being soft and patient for now. Ashma joins us now with more on what transpired in court today. Ashma, take us through what the provocation seems to be today.
Well, the Supreme Court today expressing its deep anguish and frustration at what it calls is the centre frustrating the process of judicial appointments. Keep in mind that in the previous hearing, the Supreme Court had red flagged how various files and recommendations that are sent by the collegium, the centre then chooses to sit on these files indefinitely, which delays the entire process, frustrates the entire process. And in fact, towards that end, the Supreme Court had, in a very sharp question, had posed a sharp question and had sought a reply from the Law Ministry. What they got instead was a public comment by the Law Minister. The public comment essentially said that if they're so keen on it, the judiciary should go ahead and appoint its own judges. Now, that is one comment that did not go down well with the bench today. The bench, in fact, while not taking his name directly, said that there were people higher up on the government machinery that have been making public comments, that these public comments are not welcome, are not in good taste, and if required, while the Supreme Court may be acting soft and patient for now, the Supreme Court will not be shy of acting if required and going ahead and appointing judges to the Supreme Court as well as the high courts. Now, the Supreme Court expressing its frustration and saying that the centre in sitting on these files is crossing the Rubicon, that this is the timelines have gone completely haywire, that there are appointments, there is good talent that is lost because of the fact that the centre chooses to sit on these files. And on the back of these concerns, once again, the Supreme Court has asked for more clarity from the Law Ministry, and towards that end, in fact, even directing what the Supreme Court called was a double barrel of the Attorney General and the Solicitor General to convey the court's concerns to the government. And they've sought answers. The next hearing in this case will be on December 8th.
Ashwin, many thanks for joining us. And that wraps things up here on this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues on the other side.